What's up, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to break down what's happening with Tesla SPY in the overall market. I'm going to break down some very key levels to watch for as the market's approaching resistance and why Tesla's doing a good job so far at fighting. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $2,000, you're guaranteed 30 in total. The offer ends at the end of March. Anyways, as far as the market's going, I just want to mention that Tesla's holding its 200 EMA as support, and we're trying to launch to this trend line of resistance. So when you zoom out of the chart like this, you will see that we had this yellow trend line acting as resistance here. We rejected many times, but today we're going to be testing this. So it's going to be a big test to see if Tesla could break and hold above this or even close above this or not. And if we get a break above that, that's going to be a very good sign. So if you're bullish on Tesla, you want to see it hold above this trend line. As long as you hold above it like this, you typically get like a back test before it continues to push. We easily go back into like the 420s if that ends up being the case. If we could break and hold or even close above this yellow trend line. If we can't do that, if we get a rejection right here, whoops, not this. If we get a rejection, there's going to be a risk of us essentially returning right back down, towards our 200 EMA. So you want to watch that very closely, see if Tesla could hold this. I'm hoping we try to break this as there's a lot of optimism right now. So what is good about Tesla is this right here. Analysts think that, analysts are saying that their stock price targets have increased, at least for Tesla, at least for the most part. So there's been a lot of bullish trends for Tesla after the fact that they are very optimistic on how things are looking. And there's been a lot of talk about robotics, energy storage, and AI development. Now, although Tesla's earnings were not the strongest, they did miss on EPS and revenue. They managed to offset this with Elon Musk's speech about what's going to essentially happen in the future. And he's very excited about how 2026 is going to look, especially 2027 and 2028. Now, when it comes to their AI advancements, with these big reiterations that are coming out from these analysts, they now have about $430 price targets. That's what Adam Jonas said with Morgan Stanley. They believe that AI and robotics is going to play a big role in why this is happening. And then we also have others out there. Right here, you guys can see the UBS analysts. Basically, they lifted their price target to about $259, which means they're pretty much like behind. They're still maintaining their sell rating, so they actually have a different view. And besides that, I saw others out there, such as like Wedbush analyst Dan Ives, who kept his $550 price targets. It's very interesting views on Tesla. So many of them are very bullish. There's a couple of people who are bearish, but the majority of them are still bullish. Piper Sandler also has a overweight $500 price targets, although they are a bit more cautious at keeping this. So the majority of analysts are still more bullish. There are some out there who are saying to sell Tesla, but it's fine. They're doing quite fine. And if anything, Tesla is giving us the promises of eventually getting cheaper cars and looking for a nice return on their growth over time, with their unsupervised FSD version launching very soon this year in just a couple of months in Texas. I can't wait to see that. For our data, we just got the GDP numbers. The growth rate was at 2.3%, a little bit below expectations, but still not too bad. The GDP price index was at 2.2%, aligned with expectations. That's pretty much it. Initial jobless claims was also a little bit short. Not too bad, in my personal opinion. With that being said, for earnings, we have UPS announcing earnings. Then Apple's going to be after market close for today. Unfortunately for UPS, we actually saw weak reports. Net income was only at $1.72 billion or $2.01 per share, and then $25.3 billion on revenue. All of these were very close to expectations, but their guidance was a little bit weak. You guys can see revenue is expected to be $89 billion. That is below what we were expected for 2025. It's not the best of news, but that's why the share price is down. Besides that, there's nothing new that's coming out. Jerome Powell didn't really cause that much. So let's focus on the share prices. As far as Tesla goes, I want to see if we could break past this resistance. If we hold above this, like I said before, I'm going to be expecting this push into like the 420s or above. Don't forget that different analysts are even expecting like 430 very soon. So we could be looking for a big push right here. We have a bullish cross in the PPO. We got a nice green wick right here, which typically acts like a slingshot to push this back up. So it looks bullish for now, but we need to see if we get a rejection not off this trend line. Hopefully we break outs to go even higher as we look very strong on the 4-hour time frame. On the 5 minutes, we look bullish. As you guys could tell, Tesla was forming a nice wedge yesterday. And looking at it today, we're still doing something very, very nicely. So I think that this is forming another accumulation right here, which typically is like a cup. And that typically leads to a nice distributive move right back up to the upside. So looks bullish so far. There's like a bullish divergence double bottom on the 5 minutes. And I think that there's a very good chance it tries to go even higher. Let's just see for confirmation if it could hold above this trend line. Then we could be looking for a nice push to the upside for Tesla, at least for now. For SPY, okay, looks a little bit more bullish, but I want to see if we could hold 604 for confirmation. If we break this, we're looking for the gap fill back up to 607 within the next couple of days. If we can't hold 602, look for 600 as our main support. If 600 fails us, we could be dipping back down to 594. So if 600 fails, we turn bearish, a little bit more bearish. If we're above 604, I'm going to favor bulls a lot more. We're very close to it. And overall, this trend technically favors upside because we're making higher lows on SPY. And I think we have this gap to fill, so it's going to likely try to push higher over the next couple of days. So SPY technically favors upside. We'll see just to be safe. The QQQ looks bullish because same thing as SPY, we're making higher highs and higher lows. I just don't want to see us lose 520 and then 515. As long as we hold above those two levels, we favor upside. If we lose 518, we're looking for a move back down to 515. If that fails us, we will be dumping back down to 507. Now, looking at this wick, we're making higher lows, and we have the potential to fill this gap up here into like the 528 area. So I think this is favoring upside, and I think the QQQ is going to do a good job so far. So we favor the bulls a bit more. The Russell 2000 looks bullish. Why? Because we're breaking structure. We broke past 227.8. This is favoring that it's going to grab liquidity back up to where this wick is in the 229 area. As long as you don't lose 227, we favor upside to continue to push. Looking pretty good. ES is holding its support as long as we don't lose 60-60. This should be favoring an attempt to push back up to the 6100s. If we lose 60-60, we're looking for 60-33. If that fails us, we could be dipping back down. So be careful. Watch 60-60 and 60-33 to see if ES could hold those. If it does, we do remain bullish. If not, we could turn. So let's hope for the best. NQ is doing a good job making higher lows. We need to break past 21,700 to start pushing up towards this gap fill for the 21,800s. If it loses 21,500, turns back down. I'm hoping we try to hold support and then try to push higher. We'll see, though. It's barely holding that for now. For Bitcoin, we're on a nice uptrend so far. We have to see if we can try to break past 105,000. Then we're looking for 106,000. We also have the support right here to watch for the 103,500. Might dip a little bit since we filled this imbalance, and then we could try to bounce again. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. Nvidia is looking pretty good. What's good about Nvidia is the fact that we're trying to base here. If we were to lose like 117, I would turn a little bit more concerned about it. But we have this low here. We came up, made a higher low. So this is like a low and a higher low. I would love to see us try to continue to push at least from here if we truly if we could hold this support here, we could eventually try to fill this gap by next week. There's a good chance it tries to bounce to about 132 if we hold support. So I hope that ends up being the case. For Apple, we look a bit more bullish. There's a potential inverse head and shoulders setup. So I do expect us to revisit the 240 area. We have a left shoulder here. We have our head. And then we have this like right shoulder. So I think this is going to revisit to 240. If we could break this, then I'm going to be looking for a breakout for 246. If we end up losing 233, we turn back down. This is favoring upside for 240 plus. So hopefully it continues to push very, very nicely. I hope that ends up being the case. For others out there, we have Coin. Coin is looking a bit more bullish. We're seeing more buyers stepping in. This is going to go for this gap fill up here. So I think that there might be a small retracement before it tries to push for 300. There's still potential in this. Amazon's looking decent. So we're stuck between 235 and 240. We might try to push for 240. If we break that, we remain bullish. As of right now, it's in our range, though, so it may just remain range bound until we try to break. On Meta, if we lose 680, we're looking for 665. As long as we're above that, we're looking for an attempt for 700 and eventually the 710s. So I think it favors upside a bit more. For Microsoft, we need to try to hold like around the 420 area. It's going to be very important for us to hold that. It has been dipping a little bit down in the after hours, but let's see if we could hold support at 420 if we see some buyers try to base it around here. If it does end up holding support between 415 and 420, we're looking for a bounce back up to 430. It depends if it could hold or not. If we do sell off a little bit more, it's still possible we get close to like 420 or below, but we'll see if buyers return or not. For Google, we have to see if we hold resistance. We have this 200 target. 201 is going to be our target to fill this gap. If we lose 197, we could be dipping back down to about 195. We could try to push to fill this gap, so I think there's a good chance that we try to do that. So watch and see if Google could achieve that. With that being said, guys, I thank you all so much for listening. The VIX has another gap to fill down here, so that favors upside for the markets. And we're just going to focus on Tesla, see if Tesla could hold above this trend line. If it does, we're looking for a breakout into the 420s. So I hope we try to do that. Watch Tesla just to be safe. With that being said, I thank you for listening. Have a good one, guys, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day. I'll be back in a couple of hours, and peace out.